What do you see around you?
Just see a galaxy all around me.
Mhm.
Nebula and clouds. It's very, very peaceful
Mhm.
in this place. I feel like at this time I had no body. I was just moving from one place to the other.
Mhm. Is it in between lives, would you say?
Yes, yes, this is the space in between lives.
Mhm.
And it feels very, very peaceful in here.
Mhm.
And I am just floating around.
So do you see yourself as an orb, or do you see yourself just as
Hmm, I do not think that I am visible to the eye.
Mhm.
However, I am there, traveling about my way,
Mhm.
this aspect of myself. Our body feels quite foreign, and there is not much going on.
Mhm. So what was the life that you just had? Did you just finish a life and then you went into this space?
Yes, I believe this was after the Pleiadian life,
Mhm.
and I was just wandering about. And now I see the main aspect of myself, my main beingness, and it has come to collect me.
Mhm.
And this looks like a beautiful angel made of light, and it has multiple wings. It's
Mhm.
very, very shiny. It appears on the horizon as a big evening star, and then it comes closer and closer to me,
Mhm.
and it is me. It is Lumina collecting the soul fragment of me that just had the lifetime. And as she collects it up, as I collect it up, because it's all me,
Mhm.
I go back into the body of this giant being and integrate myself into myself and all of the experiences that I've just had.
Mhm.
And yes, it looks like when I saw it on the horizon, it was like an evening star, like Venus or whatnot. And as it comes closer and closer, then I can make it out. And it's me. and then we are integrated as one.
Mhm. So were you in the in between for long?
I was just, I floated away from my body, and I floated up, 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 out of the atmosphere of the planets that I died in.
Mhm.
Up, 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 I kept going. And then I could see all of the stars and all of the beautiful star clouds. And then that's when myself came to collect me.
So what lifetime were you in that lifetime? What life was that?
And that was the Pleiadian life. That was the one I wanted to explore today
Mhm.
so that my lower self can have healing in regards to this lifetime.
So what happened in that lifetime? How did you die?
I had to be on a mission.
Mhm.
I was carrying special cargo, precious cargo to another colony, and I had to make it there. But I'm seeing that I was shot down over the ocean. I was shot down and my ship was destroyed, but I was still, unfortunately, I did not die then and there. It would have been easier if I just died,
Mhm.
but I didn't, and I was swimming around in the middle of the ocean, and I was swimming for quite some time, and then I just drowned in my spacesuit. I was wearing a helmet, and I put my helmet on when I knew that my ship was going to crash.
Mhm.
I panicked. It was started to spinning, and I quickly put my helmet on, and it was spinning, and then it broke up, and I fell into the ocean with all of these things around me, the broken ship, and I couldn't contact anyone. I couldn't contact my crew members. It was just me on my own.
Mhm.
It was just me who did this mission. It was nobody else in the ship except for me. So I was on my own. I feel like I hurt my elbow. My elbow was hurting.
As you crashed down, or how did?
Yes, it crashed down into the water, and then the ship dispersed into the water. There was bits and pieces everywhere,
Mhm.
and I couldn't find the cargo or anything. It was all ruined. There was nothing much left. So I decided to swim, but I knew I was going to die.
Mhm.
I feel like I just wanted to give up. So I was just swimming around, and I knew I would not last very long. And then I got some water in my lungs, and then I snorted and choked,
Mhm.
and then I started to drown. And then I saw myself, I saw the soul is leaving the body. I
Mm.
was coming out of my body, and I didn't get to finish the mission. I was floating away, and I was floating above the water, my body,
Mhm.
and my soul was floating up, up, up and away, but I was in the water for some time, and it was very, very, I was very scared.
And what feeling did you have when you left the body?
I was upset because I didn't finish the mission, and I was upset because I let everyone down and I let everyone behind,
Mhm.
because there was lots of beings who loved me, and they were counting on me.
Mhm. And what was the cargo that you were carrying?
I am seeing it was a scientific project, and this is why it was shot down, because there were counter forces that didn't want this, didn't want the colonies to have this technology. It was to help them.
How was it
And
gonna help?
there was a conflict going on between the negative extraterrestrial races and the Pleiadian beings, and this would help them to defend themselves and be able to. It was a few things actually. It was not just one thing. It was things that they could survive on some of these things, and then they could defend themselves. So it was like weapons, and it was, I'm going to say, a food replication device so that they can eat, and the medical sort of supplies as well. Like medical devices, and these were the newest, I guess, implements or models, which is why I said it was like a scientific project, because this was the latest technology,
Mhm.
and we were sending it to the new colonies, or the colonies that were in more danger. And we were sending me stuff, and my ship got shot down, and all of the stuff, it just went into the ocean. And I was swimming around trying to find like a way to get some help or get to some of the things, but it was no good. Everything was destroyed or sunk into the ocean. I couldn't catch it.
Who shot you down? Do you know?
It was the reptile beings. They shot me down.
But they didn't want this to reach where it was supposed.
No, they didn't want this new technology,
Mm-hmm.
this new project to reach the colonies. They got to me before I could get there. This was on the way. This was on the way to the destination. And
Mm-hmm.
they got me and shot me down. I'm seeing they shot me once, and then I started to do like my ship was spinning out of control, and then so I got my helmet and I braced myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got into a suit that could help me survive. I quickly put it on, even though it's very difficult. And I quickly put my helmet on,
Mm-hmm.
and then they shot again, and then it completely exploded. And I braced myself as I hit the water very hard. It was very unfortunate. Maybe I should have just not put on the suit, because it was very unfortunate way that I died. It took longer than it should have,
Mm-hmm.
because I decided to put on the safety suit.
And is this safety suit was going to help you um, survive it? Did you think, or?
Well, the water, after swimming for some time, water got into the suit.
Okay.
It was not this type of situation was not like the suit was somewhat damaged, so it was no good, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize. I'm seeing that I was just swimming for some time, and I didn't realize that the suit got damaged with the fall, and then I drowned.
Mm-hmm.
All of the while I was very, very anxious, and I didn't know if I would. I was just swimming and swimming. I couldn't see any land.
Mm-hmm. So every life has a lesson and a purpose. As you look at that life, what did you learn from it?
His life was about making friends.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have many times when I made friends with other beings in various lives. So I made some friends in this one. And it was just about making friends, and also it was to do with the male who was the mate that I had in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the one that I killed him when I was on Earth previously. I killed him, the one that I stabbed in the tent
Mm-hmm.
when he got too excited, and then I got scared, and he tried to take off my clothes without my permission, and then I stabbed him. It was this one because I felt very sorry for him, because he was a kind soul, but he just made a bad choice, and then I got scared and I made a bad choice. I felt very sorry for him, so
Mm-hmm.
I decided I would let him be with me in his life,
Mm-hmm.
in the Pleiadian body.
What do you think the purpose of that lifetime was?
And it was about getting to know him and making friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to try to be with him to make it up for the time that I stabbed him before.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very kindly to me. He was very, very kind.
So how was your lifetime in that in the Palladians with the Palladians?
Yes, it was good. I had blonde hair,
Mm-hmm.
and he had blonde hair, my mate. And we were working on some project together, and then we met each other.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided that he really liked me because I was very joyful.
Mm-hmm. And what did this place look like? Would you call it a world, or would you call it, is it like another Earth, or?
I just see we were on spaceships many times.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing something.
Mm-hmm.
We were at like a table sort of thing, and we were planning something together.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing plans, and oftentimes I was involved very much with the goings on of various projects to do with the colonies. And we were involved with the Pleiadian colonies. And I was actually good at piloting the ships. So often I would do transport. This was something that I would do often. Transporting and setting up, getting supplies to here and there. This is what I do regularly. So as I can see, I just sort of died doing my job. My job wasn't particularly anything special. It was just helping out with the colonies.
Do they have big colonies, or what did that look like?
Yes, we were starting up some smaller ones,
Mm-hmm.
some ones that were, well, just in case, just in case the reptilians come and wipe out the main colony. We would have many that were there in different places. So I was getting some supplies to each of these secret colonies.
There's a lot of rumors about the Palladians, about they say that they used to be us. They're like one step above us. Does that make sense? Does that they're more evolved? That's they used to be us.
Well, not exactly, but they are like humanity's cousins. They are very much genetically interlinked.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is Pleiadian DNA in the human population. So I think this is what you mean. There were some Pleiadians that mated with the Earth humans long before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is what you mean. But it's not like these are us humans from the future. These beings have gone a different path.
Mm-hmm.
They are, well, humanity is like a mixing pot, but I'm seeing the Pleiadians, they don't have as many influences as humanity. They have, well, a lot of them have just blonde hair and blue eyes,
Why is that?
and some of them have dark hair. Well, that's just their genetics. So
Mm-hmm.
humans have very different genetics, or not genetics. They have very similar genetics. However, they are more varied in the variations of the humans. So they are like humanity's cousins. So they look like us, but they are not us. They still have, there is genetic differences to us and them, but very similar. They would be able to breed with a human, for example. They are genetically compatible with each other.
Okay. And so the male who was very upset when your life ended prematurely, did you meet him? Did you have most of your life with him, or?
Yes, I just had my life with him. I did not take another mate. It was just with him, and we were also working together in the colonies.
Mm-hmm.
And he is blonde too. He has blonde hair to his shoulders.
So what happened in his life after you died?
And I'm seeing after I died, he was told about my demise,
Mm-hmm.
and he did not take this very well. I am seeing he is crying on the floor. He was not very good after this because I died very, very young at the age of 32.
Mm-hmm.
This is very young for one of these beings because usually they are living like a couple of 100 years at this stage. So they are living like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I died at just 32. So it's very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And they are supporting him and hugging him, but he is fall to the ground in grief. And I am watching, and there is like a group of other Pleiadians, and they are around him, like my family and friends. And he will need some support afterwards, but he doesn't quite get over this.
Mm-hmm.
They are encouraging him, maybe he should get out more, and maybe he should take another mate at some point, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
Did you continue to
He,
visit him after you died?
yes, yes, of course. There was part of me that was always watching him, and he is just going in and out of his. Well, I was saying his room in the ship. He has like a special living space,
Mm-hmm.
and he appears to be more depressed, and he's still going about his business, but I think he knows that I'm there. I think he knows that I'm still around,
Mm-hmm.
and he this is very difficult for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He knows that I'm still there.
Mm-hmm.
While watching him, he just asked me to wait around for him,
Mm-hmm.
to just wait for him, wait until the end of his life. So he comes and he has talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to me in his room. I can't do very much
Mm-hmm.
because I know what he wants. He wants me to come back. but I can't come back. I told him that actually I'm an Elohim and that was my life, and
Mhm.
that I put a part of myself into that body for a short time, and I have things to do now, but because I can be anywhere in the universe and at the same time and multiply myself, I just still stayed here and was watching him,
Mhm.
all because he asked me to be here. He leaves me something sometimes. He leaves some things out for me,
Mhm.
and the whole while this is happening, the rest of my beingness is with Apollo and doing other Elohim things.
Mhm.
But there is, because I can split myself into many places, there is part of me that is just watching him.
Mhm.
And he asks me for guidance and all of these other things. He just likes to talk with me.
Mhm.
So he doesn't take another female. I encourage him to do so, but he does not take another one.
Mhm.
He was quite attached to me.
Did
I'm
you
sorry.
wait around for him?
Yes, yes, I did.
Mhm.
Until he died. I did wait around for him. I did.
Mhm.
And he got promoted in his job and he did very, very well, but he didn't take another mate for himself, and he felt a little bit betrayed by me because I left too early.
Mhm.
It wasn't his intention that he would spend the rest of his life with me, but I left.
Mhm.
And so I was watching him for quite some time, and he always wanted to talk to me. And so he didn't want to take another mate because he thought I was just there, so he didn't want to.
Was that lonely for
He,
him?
yes, and I encouraged him to maybe to move on, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to move on.
Mhm. And what are the aspects that you need to heal from this lifetime? Can you provide the healing now?
Yes, I will just hear that.
Mhm.
We had a good group of friends. We had a really good, fun group of friends, him and me, and we would have fun together.
Mhm.
So that was meant to be very healing for me as well, to find some friends.
Mhm.
It was meant to be a short lifetime, but he didn't quite he didn't quite get it. He didn't like that it was short for me.
Mhm.
He
So
had all sorts of plans with me.
mhm. So would you say that that would be like a paying back karma for stabbing him in the other lifetime?
Yes, I felt very sorry for him because he was a good one.
Mhm.
He was a good soul. He was helpful to me in the tent and giving me some help, and but he just got too excited and he wanted to mate with me, but I didn't want to do it. And I got very scared because of what happened before when I was raped by those three men. So I stabbed him, but he was actually very helpful to me.
Mhm.
And I thought maybe this time I will give him a chance. And he did love me very much. When I gave him the chance, I wanted to see what he would do. I wanted to see if he had the chance to love me this time, what would he do?
Mhm.
And then he loved me, but he couldn't let go of me. And it was very painful for me to see.
Do the Palladians have a message for any Palladian starseeds and people that are listening?
I am just connecting with them so I can paraphrase for you.
Mhm.
I want the starseeds to know that they are very, very loved,
Mhm.
of course, first and foremost. And the connection that we all share is still there.
Mhm.
And especially this being, this man that I talk about, he will be very healed from
Mhm.
this coming out. And he has been connecting in with his Pleiadian self. And any Pleiadian beings, they have to know that their society is very loving at the moment.
Mhm.
They went through great trauma and strife, but they made it out at the end. And they are assisting humanity to do the same. These beings have very big hearts. So when they lose someone that they care about,
Mhm.
it hurts very much. Of course, they are very advanced at love. So that's why they are helping the earth at this time.
Mhm.
many of these beings will go on in the future to evolve further from just watching and assisting with humanity during this time of awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Their evolution as a species will be catapulted. And after this lifetime that many of the Pleiadian starseeds have, they will go back to that race. A lot of them will choose to do so. Earth is just, a stopover point
Mm-hmm.
for many of them in their lifetimes. And through the cooperation of our species, both of us will be catapulted forward in our evolutions. And they are looking forward to one day in the future being able to meet humanity. However, the timelines for this, unfortunately, it will be further ahead than what people may think unless they decide to get together and to manifest this as a group and make this intention for this to come forth sooner. First, you must take personal responsibility. If you want to be part of a galactic society, you need to act like one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only when the conditions are met that there will be mass disclosure, and then they will come at once in a big event. However, until that point, there can be star seeds that will have personal meetings with them. You can have like personal meeting with them for yourself. If you are raising your vibration and doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
then this can happen. But, there is much of humanity that still lags behind. So that is why when there are mass landings happen, it will not be, this year or next year or in 5 years' time. It could not happen at that time. And some people will be disappointed to know this, but it is about evolving first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Humans have to evolve to that level, and the dark ones need to be fully gone before that can happen.
What do you mean by doing the work? What does that look like?
It looks like going within and seeing the power was within you all along.
Mm-hmm.
It was not an outside source or anything like that. It is what is known as the Christ consciousness as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to respect creation. Because right now, it appears that a lot of humans do not still respect creation. They still view the earth as just a rock that they live on. And they do not see the spirits in all things. They do not look at the world with eyes unclouded They do not look at things and see how beautiful they are. They do not see the beauty in their own lives yet. They do not see the beauty in this world. That is why they have ruined it,
Mm-hmm.
because they do not see. When you see with your heart. There are no lies, no clouded visions, no judgments. When humanity learns how to see with their heart, then they will come.
Would you say that there's a lot of Palladians incarnated into Earth now?
Yes, very much so, because we are intertwined. The species are intertwined with each other. I'm seeing that in the future, they will come more to live together. Not unlike what you said before, but it is like, the human species and the Pleiadian species there will be a place where they will come together, and some of them will interbreed with each other and make a new human species.
Mm-hmm.
Like a marriage of our two species. So maybe this is where the ideas are coming from, where they are our future selves. It's not quite like that, but a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do come together in the end. There will be humans who will fall in love with Pleiadians and Pleiadians that would fall in love with humans, but that is quite far from now.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of human time, that is.
So the Palladians that are having their lifetimes here on Earth, how do they do that? Do they have their they're in a status pod or?
Some of them are in a stasis pod,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very hard for their families and their mates as they go into the stasis pod, but they are reassured because humans live shorter lives. Well, at the moment, humans do anyway. So maybe, they can continue with the rest of their lives when the human dies and they go back into the Pleiadian body.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are like in spirit form and have had Pleiadian lifetimes in the past. And they had decided to help humanity. So there are different ways of doing it.
And the seven sisters that people talk about when they speak about Palladians, what are they referring to with that?
And that is the star system where they originate from.
Mm-hmm.
There is some planets in there that they would have colonies, and their original planet was from this area.
So are they still there or what's happened there?
There are some colonies and planets that could not be inhabited anymore. because the reptilians chased them out. So that is why they were making colonies here, there, and in all kinds of places. They were making different colonies and living life mostly on the sheep. That is how I lived most of my life, was on the sheep. And my mate, he was living on the sheep. That was where his room was, and that was where he was talking to me a lot of the time, in his room on the sheep.
And the pods are obviously on the ship as well.
Yes, the pods, the stasis pods are on the ships.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are some of them just projecting out a lifetime on Earth, would you say?
Mm, no, not necessarily. It is like their body, their Pleiadian body is put in the pod, and then their soul is, where there is still a fragment of the soul in the body. That is what keeps it alive.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of their body goes into an earth human, and then they stay in the pod. There is a fragment that stays in the pod, and then a fragment that goes out and has a lifetime as a human. And these pods are very taken care of and in secret places, so that is part of the operation. They do not give up the details of where these pods are or where they are going, or the specific details about these pods,
Mm-hmm.
because this is part of an ongoing operation to help liberate the earth.
So they're not all on the ship, or?
Yes, they're on the ships, but the ships are they are cloaked, and you do not see these ships. They are far away from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They are far away from any sort of influences that may be like a threat to them, for example.
Mm-hmm.
These stasis pods are very, very protected.
But the people that have incarnated on Earth, would you say that they're volunteering, or what would you say?
Yes, all of them are volunteers for this.
Mm-hmm.
They are very brave, and they want to help liberate the other species of humanoids, because of course, we have a connection to each other on this level. All of the humanoids in the universe have a connection to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are from the original one, the original humanoid experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So we all originated from these. The original planet that I talked about many, 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 many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and called Avalon and Eva. And all of the humanoids of this universe, they originated from this. So it's like all of them, they look out for each other. because of, you know, they all originated from this place. So all of us are cousins of each other.
Mhm.
And it was the Elohim that created the first humanoids of this universe, because they wanted beings that they do this in every universe. They create the first humanoids, and they are smiling and excited because they look just like us. They look like us. It's exciting every time. Every time it's exciting when we create the first humanoids. And of course, the point being is that they look just like us. They look like the Elohim. They are the children of the Elohim, in a sense. They are very special to us. And that is why Apollo, he has a fondness for the Pleiadians. And so do I as well. And for the humans as well. There is a fondness and love. There is much love that we have for each other.
Is there anything else that you want us to know about the Palladians today?
Many Pleiadians will be very activated by this session. So
Mhm.
they are giving activations for people throughout this session, especially the Pleiadian star seeds, to help them, to take them to the next level on their journey as things continue to go forward.
So we can trust that any Palladian star seeds that listen to this will be activated by it and be able to connect with their oversoul, Palladian oversouls.
Yes, yes, of course. They will be very much connected to this and start to remember things.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Now, going back to the day of the UFO encounter, at the time when your lower self was walking and then looked up and saw the cluster of UFOs, when the lower self was taken up there, what exactly happened?
Okay, so the body went into ribbons of light,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm seeing as it went, the beam that they used clipped the light a little bit, the street light. This is how this happened with the street light.
Mm-hmm.
It clipped the edge of it.
So that's why it was blown. Is that right?
Yes, that's why it was damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And she went up to here,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a big rushing sensation, and she's feeling very spacey and disorientated, and she is looking around in this spaceship, and she doesn't say anything for a little bit. She's just looking around, and some beings come out to her. There is a woman that comes out to her.
What kind of beings did she meet?
The woman is a Pleiadian woman, but there was also these little android type of beings that are the helpers. And she doesn't, it was important in this instance for the woman to come out and to help her and hug her, because once she realized what was going on, she started to cry because it was just very beautiful and overwhelming. And the vibration was significantly different in here.
And who was
So
that woman?
her name is Sakana. Sakara, actually. Sakara. So Sakara she is a Pleiadian that we are working with as well. This was Galactic Federation type of ships. I'm just seeing if anyone else came out. The conscious mind does not want to give up the information because the conscious mind was wiped at this time. It is kind of holding on in a sense. So I will just ask it to recede further and further backwards and further and further.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell her to take her shoes off, and she takes them off. And then she takes her clothes off as well, and then they put her into this chamber device. And this is for upgrading the cells, of the body and infusing them where they are able to be infused with a lot more light without damaging the body. This is very important because she puts off a lot of light, a lot of vibration. Vibrational frequency is what I'm trying to say. It's a very high vibration that is put off.
Mm-hmm.
And this is somewhat very different to the other humans at this time. So she needs help with the physical body to be able to process how much light is being pumped out.
Mm-hmm. Is this what they
So
call a med bed or something different?
yes, it is like a med bed, but this is a different purpose, this machine. So this machine is especially for acclimatizing, the physical cells
Mm-hmm.
to get them ready for more light, so that they don't scramble, so that the information contained within the cells isn't scrambled by high outputs of information. So it is like a type of medbed, but this rearranges the cells in a different format. And it's also getting rid of any sort of cancerous elements as it does this, because being on Earth is very difficult because there is too much pollutants everywhere. So sometimes star seeds might have a cancer in their body, and this is eliminated when they go up to these types of places, because that is not the purpose for their lifetime, to just die at that time. So they clean these out, and they clean out any other contaminations. There is heavy metals that were cleaned out at this time so that the light can effectively move throughout the cells of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just in this pod. She was in this pod being scanned and cleaned. And there is like a holograph, and they are looking at her body, and she is just unconscious at this time
Mm-hmm.
while this is occurring. So she has no clothes on in there, and she is just in this pod, and her shoes and clothes have been put aside in a little containment chamber. And the little helper beings are analyzing the body. They are all analyzing it and seeing what can be done. And of course, Arcana is in there, and he is giving them reports of what needs to occur. And he looks just like an angel who is a being of light in the spaceship. And Arcana is appearing as this sort of being of light. And he is telling them all the upgrades that need to be completed
Mm-hmm.
and everything that needs to be done. Apollo is watching, but he is not in his physical form.
Mm-hmm.
He is just watching this process. Thoth is also watching, but he is actually in a more physical form,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to be a part of this as well.
So who organized this encounter?
It was Elizabeth's team
Mm-hmm.
and Arcana, and they organized with the Galactic Federation for them to come to pick her up for this major upgrade. And there are more beings that are coming into the room,
Mm-hmm.
because they are very interested in her and how she can continue to pump out the light despite all of that is taking place. So there is a male being in here, and he is watching as well and observing, and there is much respect treated with her body as well, because they know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
They do not do anything silly. for example. It is very, very respectful, of course. And the majority of time, she just was in this pod. And they were also recording the information of this. This will be important information for how the physical body can withstand light, especially during the solar flash event. They are using this as like a sort of a, not an experiment, but just to see how far this can go. But she has upgrades to do with this, so she does not disintegrate. They are wondering how that they can use this for everyone else so that everyone can experience the benefits of the light and huge waves of energy that is coming. They rearrange the cells so she can soak it up like a sponge and then disperse it like a transmuter. It's very, very bright and able to contain a lot of light.
Did they show her anything in particular?
When she came out of the pod, showing that they just wrapped her up in a blanket type of thing so she doesn't feel so exposed. This was especially the request of Apollo because he said that she has some issues around that because in past lives she was jumped on and attacked for her nakedness. So they advised them to put a blanket around her and to help her in this way. And they are just communicating with her telepathically as she sits down. And asked her if she felt any sort of pain or if she is okay. If there is any pain in the body or any unpleasantness. And she said that there's just a bit of a headache. So they said okay, and they put her in for a little bit more. They need to do a checkup sort of a thing and ask her how everything is going and if there is any pain in the body or any problems. And if that is the case, then they go in again and check if there is anything else that needs doing. And just any final sort of touches to take away any sort of after effects.
How long was she up there for?
I'm seeing like a couple of hours actually. Close to 5 hours.
Wow. And in her aspect of time, she just feels like nothing happened.
No, it doesn't feel like anything happens, but she just saw them doing maneuvers in the air, and then she continued on her walk and it was just like normal. They did show her something to do with the solar flash, and just a little bit of information on how to help herself.
Mm-hmm.
They do not give future details too much because they are worried that that will scare the being,
Mm-hmm.
that they will be too scared and not want to come back.
Is the solar
But
flash something that's going to happen across the world, or is it in a particular area of the world?
it will happen all at once around the world.
Mm-hmm.
The world will be completely enveloped by, I'm just seeing all of this yellow and white light. It's like a big flame that comes around the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the sun is very, very big and it lets off a big burst. And the burst completely envelops the earth. Does not burn it up or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And
Nothing of that nature.
yeah. And is there a lot of people that will find the exit points through this?
Yes, some of them will be knocked out cold
Mm-hmm.
by this. Yes, some of them they will leave their bodies during this event. Some of them. But this is their own choice.
Mm-hmm.
For others, they will not. It just depends on the person. Depends on their particular soul contract.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of predictions that people have made about when this is going to happen. But from
Yes.
what I understand, it's just going to happen when we least expect it. Is that right?
Yes, it has to get up to a certain point, however.
Mm-hmm.
The sun will be more active before this time, although they might not tell it to you,
Mm-hmm.
but the sun has been getting more active all along.
So the solar phase.
It's been working up to this. Yes,
Yeah.
it's it works up to a certain point, and then it lets out a big one, a giant one, and the giant one is it, but it lets off smaller bursts until this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the smaller bursts are, of course, to upgrade the people until then, upgrade the civilization. And then you have the big one. So it is like, do you know an earthquake when they have like tremors beforehand?
Yeah.
This type of thing, but except with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So before you have a big earthquake, sometimes you have the signs like tremors beforehand.
Is
And I
that
don't want this to sound scary at all, by the way.
is this something that's been happening in Melbourne? The tremors.
And that is to do with the cleaning out of the underground area.
Okay.
There is much human trafficking that was going on in these areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that is to do with that.
So it's the areas that are being felt is where the clearing out is coming from?
Yes, they have explosives going on
Mm.
underneath. There is a big underground war that
Mm.
is happening that a lot of ordinary people do not know about.
Mhm.
However, you can, at least in the area where Elizabeth lives, there is a lot of air activity that you can hear at certain times that would be indicative of this.
Mhm.
It is the war to pinch off the deep state and its tentacles in the financial system. Because if we don't get rid of this, then we are done as a species. So this is a war being fought on all fronts to get rid of the dark aspects, the deep state which is being piloted by demonic energies. And the deep state is in control of the financial system, or was in control, but this is being pinched off, which is why people don't have very much money at the moment. This system has to be strangled because this system is not built on oil that you are talking about, like they talked about. It is a system that is built on human trafficking and illegal activities, very horrible things. In this system, children are the gold.
Mhm.
It is not backed by anything like gold or silver. That will be the new system that is coming. But this old system is backed on human trafficking
Mhm.
and illegal activities. So that is why it's being stopped.
So with the children that get trafficked out or in and out, these are old souls that have decided to have this sort of lifetime.
I think there is a mixture. I wouldn't say necessarily that they are old souls.
Mhm.
However, they have quite different reasons for doing this, all of them, in relation to their soul contracts.
Mhm.
But one of the reasons is to show people how far it has gone. Because this will all be revealed
Mhm.
and people will be very shocked. And the revealing of it will happen before the solar flash, which is going to be before the end of this decade.
And is there such thing as a broadcast that the Palladians wanted to do to reveal all these things?
No, it will have to be from the humans. This would be too much intervention from the
Mhm.
Pleiadians. They would not be able to do this. The Watchers would be unhappy with them if they did this. The various Watchers, including the Arcturians,
Mhm.
and then all the way up to the Elohim, would disagree with this. So they don't want to do this. They want to encourage, however, well, the military of the humans to start to reveal this. And this, there are different factions within this that are, I guess, at odds with each other as to when it should be revealed.
Mhm.
But the advice from the galactics is to, well, they want the humans to not do it so shockingly as to create a big mess, but they also need to, they told them that they need to do this before the solar flash happens. So at least before the end of this decade. They made that very clear that they need to do this and finish up with this disclosure of the deep state before the solar flash. Because if they do it after the solar flash, then too many people will not be, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Too many people will not be around after the solar flash. The solar flash will clean up too many people if they do not like raise the vibration to a certain point through various disclosures and awakening moments. This has all been a very big sort of plan. There are millions of puzzle pieces and gears in place. All of them are working with each other. And then the Elohim have a bird's eye view of it all. We can see how it is going and see how it is fitting into the grand cycles of the universe. And we have a vested interest in this because the Elohim and angelics are the shepherds of the cycles. They shepherd the souls to become in balance before the next cycles commence. And so the cycles can be in time with each other. Because the end of the universe is very beautiful. It would be very important if the cycles were in alignment so that everyone can get to experience it. So everyone is shepherded to the right point to be in alignment with the cycles. This is the giant bird's eye view.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for that. In what ways was the Elizabeth's physical body changed that day?
So the very cells of the body were rearranged. And also the cells of the body are different. At the atomic level, they are different. And they were also helping me to do with this, to the body to help to cure itself finally of the polycystic ovary syndrome. As more light comes in, the body will just cure itself of this. And there will be no more need for intervention.
Will the body now be able to reach higher frequencies through these sessions?
Yes, yes, yes. It will be able to reach higher and higher frequencies and bring these down. Bring these down and for everyone who is listening, and bring these down to the earth as well and to ground it into the physical.
Would you say like that she's a portal in a way?
Yes, very much so. It is like Like the sort of energy that is coming through is like the energy that comes through at the tips of a pyramid or a mountain. This amount of energy is coming through. And then she is walking around. It is creating this sort of effect where it is rearranging things vibrationally.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps to rearrange the vibrations of others. However, if they are not open to this, then they will not receive it. If they are closed off to this, then there is nothing that she can do to make them receive it.
Mm-hmm.
They will just find it very, very hard to keep continuing on these people that refuse the light to be in time with the cycles. They refuse the instructions. So that is their choice, and there is nothing that we can do to help them if that is the case.
Mm-hmm. So the upgrade that she received was to prepare her for the event that's coming. That's the solar flash. Is that right?
There will be ones, of course, there will be more interventions before this to do with this. This is just this year's one for the things that are occurring, but there will be more before that point. She will be taken again and again.
Okay.
Yes. So there will be no more interventions made to do with the PCOS because the body will just figure this out by itself.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so that's what was healed this time. Is there something
Yes.
else that she needs to be aware of?
They took some blood for future use. And this blood was, they'd taken some material to help with the future visits.
Mm-hmm.
So they are changing the blood to different frequencies, and then they upload this into this machine. And when they changed blood, then they tinker around with her blood and her cells, and then that is how they can reprogram the body when they take a sample in this case. And then they place her into the pod, and the pod is programmed on this new sort of material that they have tinkered with.
Mm-hmm.
So first they take the blood, and then they use their technology to manipulate it in the ways that it needs to be done. And then they upload this new system into the body.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense? This kind of thing, it's like an upgrade,
Yeah.
but yeah, they take biological material to do this. And there was no need to implant any more like sort of chip or tracking devices. There was no need for any of these. It was just a bodily one.
Does she have any chips or implants?
Yes, yes, but they are not of the negative kind or anything like that. That would not be allowed.
Hmm.
There is ones that monitor her for safety and monitor how the body is going and responding to various things,
Hmm.
and keeping a track on all of this, because there was like the danger in taking in too much energy that
Hmm.
the body can die. So this is of course being monitored and checked, and there will be more instances where she will be taken up to perform the next upgrade at the appropriate time when it needs to be performed.
So the upgrades that happen, is that is that for, who does it happen to? Is it everyone, or is it particular races, or at particular times?
It is star seeds especially that, well, then the ones that have particular missions to do with this especially, and ones that have the need for physical examinations. That would typically be the ones that would need this. If the body, for example, is not catching up with the spirit form, not catching up with the energies, or they spot some cancer or something, they're monitoring the body of a starseed and they spot some things in here that are not part of their life contract.
Hmm.
They remove this, or too much heavy metal contamination, especially in areas where they have been chem sprayed.
Okay.
In these areas, the star seeds will need to be taken up and this will need to be removed. And they are very upset with the chem spraying.
Hmm.
This is very, very annoying to them. So sometimes, this is just, and sometimes it is physical, for like to implant the chips and whatnot to monitor all of these things and to record things for educational purposes. So there are many reasons why one would be doing this.
So these chemtrails that get spread on the earth, what's it to do? What's it for?
Mm. This is to do with, it is slowly poisoning the human,
Hmm.
actually, so that they do not think for themselves as much, so that they are just in a state of fight or flight. And also it is to do with weather manipulation. So they have different ones for different purposes.
Hmm.
For example, before the bushfires in Australia at the end of 2019, there
Hmm.
was chem sprays that sprayed some stuff, and then they got, well, what you would call like materials that could light on fire very easily. And they went over bushland and they sprayed this sort of thing.
Hmm.
And then they paid some people to light fires and whatnot. And, created environments where it would be very, very easy to start a fire. So it would just go alight very, very, very easily. And so this was one of the examples of the use of this type of thing.
And what was the purpose of that?
It was to move. It was a long-term goal of the dark forces, the deep state, whatever you call it. It was when they were still in more control at this point. They were still much more in control.
Mm-hmm.
And they spread this so that people can start to move out of the rural areas. They would be frightened to go into the rural areas because you see the deep state was being attacked at this point. So they needed to speed up their plan. So they did a big fire blast around Australia to move people out of these rural areas in the hope that they would move them more into city spaces to begin the next part of the plan, which was the virus. So this was a plan with a couple of steps. And the virus happened very quickly after this, because they knew that a lot of people would just ignore and go into the bush.
Mm-hmm.
This was going to be a lot worse than what you can even imagine. And they knew that people would just go, they would go bush, they would go into the bush, and they would not be able to have as much control. So they decided to burn the bush. That is basically what their plan was.
Makes sense, yeah. What can you tell us about the babies that are born with 3 strands of DNA?
The 3 strands of DNA were there are children being born with even more, but this is not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, if you did material on star seeds, if you scraped some of them, especially the ones that are being activated by the Galactic Federation and various places, you would see that they have more as well. This is part of the evolution of humanity because all of this was shut off. And they are slowly putting it back on so that, you can go back to the way it originally was meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Do the ET beings have a message for the people listening?
And the ones that put me on the ship were
Yeah.
the Galactic Federation ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they just want people to know, of course, to not fear what is going on, not fear what is going to come up next. Because there is a possibility, of course, that is why I was taken up there at this time, to do with, I guess, maybe around the middle of the year. There is a possibility that something will happen, but it is all, I do not like to make predictions of this nature because oftentimes, something might happen to postpone this type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or different plans made. You could say that the timelines are in constant fluctuation as to what is going to go on, but it will become known that the financial system is no longer. It is not viable at the moment. And that is becoming more and more known to people.
Mhm.
So there will be something that will need to occur in order to transition to the other system. And that could be traumatic for people. People will feel like they have no security.
So are we allowed to know what that is at this moment or not?
The big banks will start to go down. The very big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be very scary for people. But this has been, well, this can be easily seen that it is the consequences of what must happen. And there is more things that will have to come out as well. I'm really, really hoping that they hurry this along
Mm-hmm.
and don't, sit on their laurels about it. Getting tired of this because it's like Helios is getting tired of waiting so long.
Mm-hmm.
He is part of this plan too at the physical level. The soul of the sun has everything to do with this.
It was said in a previous session that we are moving into phase 2. What is meant by that exactly, and what will be occurring?
The phase 2 is going to be a time of rapid awakening before we get to phase 3, which will be the solar events.
Mm-hmm.
So this has to occur before we can even, it is best if it occurs before the solar flash event. And there is much pressure before to put these things out there for this to occur at the right timing before this event happens. It's quite frustrating for the various beings that are trying to help the human population to make it on time.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite frustrating for them. This is why I was saying that, I hope that they get this process over and done with the financial system and all of these other shit that they have to do. Because if they sit on their laurels, then a lot of time that is wasted. Because, the sun doesn't wait for anyone. When it happens, it will happen. But, there is lots of warning. I just don't want them to be screwing about for much longer.
Mm-hmm. So obviously Helios is part of the solar flash. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. he is part of this, because he is the soul of the sun. He is the major one orchestrating this whole event. And so, he also summoned us to get rid of the archons. And he is also incarnated in a physical sense to orchestrate things as well.
Mm-hmm. Can
So
the
he is,
Yep.
sorry, you can continue with what you were saying.
I was gonna ask if the Elohim Council can give a message to humanity needs to do and be aware of in the coming months and years.
The council are just talking amongst each other. Sorry,
It's okay.
they are just discussing. Yahweh wants to talk first, or
Okay.
the Elohim of purity. He wants to say, you need to begin to feel the light within your heart. This is essential. They are all agreeing that this is essential to begin to feel the light within the heart
Mm-hmm.
and the love in the heart. They are just talking again. They are just discussing.
Well, they do that. How many phases are there? So two, we're moving into phase 2, and then there's 3. Did you?
Yes. And we have moved into phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we hope that there is just 3. That there is just like a 3-phase plan, like the awakening solar flash. But there could be more depending on what happens after the solar flash as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our higher plans for after that happens, but we are not going to discuss that right now. We have just what we have before us will be discussed, the most immediate pressing concerns. We can worry about the other stuff later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
The Elohim do not want people to fear what is going to take place, to not fall into fear. It was the council that gave this message to me before the virus or COVID, whatever you call it. Before that started, they gave me the message on the day not to fall into fear. And they were very adamant about that. And this will be very, very important for people to remember. Do not fall into fear no matter what you see,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you see playing out, because once you fall, then it's like you really do fall in vibration, and it's a little bit difficult to get up again. And there is some concerns about what happened after COVID, because people were so in fear that they jumped out of their bodies. So a lot of people that are walking around right now are only very, very small percent of their beingness is actually in their body because they are so much in fear from what has occurred these past few years. So it would be very necessary to put the soul back into the body and to not do that again, to not fall into fear in this way. And they are telling this is to make the core very, very strong. The core, but the solar plexus, but also the root chakra. This will be essential for this. And the green, the Elohim of the green ray, Cyclopeia, he is part of the council. And he wants to help with this and provide healing for anyone who has fallen into fear. He will be there to assist with immediate healing for anyone who has, if they are feeling too fearful or too battered by what they will witness, then it will be important to have a moment of healing, respite, to not fall into fear. They say that if you are not in your body at the time of the solar flash, then they are discussing within themselves whether to say this. They were worried that people could be blasted out of their bodies if they do not have a good hold on their bodies when this event happens. They would prefer if the soul was in the body and the soul is receiving a lot of these light upgrades. So if the soul isn't in the body, they are saying, then the body isn't receiving these upgrades, not like they would like. So this is important that people realize that they must go into the body and stay in there and integrate these codes into the bodies.
So if somebody has jumped out of the body, they can integrate themselves back in the body as well?
Yes. Just by doing some grounding activities and exercises, for example,
Such as what?
that would be, so you are going out onto the soil and sitting down on the ground, or just visualizing your energy going back into your body, visualizing your soul going back into your body. Or some people like to use the root of the tree growing into their root chakra, and that is grounding them into the body. And they say, please, this is important for the bodies that you ground yourself, you ground this light into the bodies. And to start to feel and integrate this light more deeply into the beingness. And they have commended that I have, helped to alert people to the issue with the prana pole on top of the head, issue with the God light going in through the middle of the body, through the prana pole, up from this top of the head. So they said, we are giving an activation so that this top crown is not obscured. So they are giving this activation out right now for everyone. The whole council is giving this activation, and activation to be grounded in the body. because their concerns are, well, the welfare of the light body, the emotional bodies, just the bodies that reside within humanity and how they are going to respond to these energies. So they are working with all of the other extraterrestrial beings and races
Mm-hmm.
to help with this process. And they especially don't want people to be in fear. That is why they are not going to give any sort of fearful predictions or anything like that. They're telling me we need to be more cautious with these sort of things, so we are not going to want to scare people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm discussing with them as well. They also said that, they are just discussing again, sorry. But they have also said that they do not want to give predictions in case the timelines fluctuate again.
Mm-hmm.
They do not like to be seen as fraudulent in case this happens, because they know that humans place certain expectations upon, predictions and whatnot, and they would prefer it if humans did not place expectations around predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go with the flow would be their advice, to be flowing like water through these times. And to remember to breathe. This is important, to remember to breathe. And I do not breathe so much enough in my physical body, so they are reprimanding me or reminding me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually like to have an activation for my physical body to remember to breathe. Would that be possible? I am saying. They're like, of course, just ask.
So what's the importance of breathing deeply?
It is getting these instructions and informations through the various channels of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And also it is very calming and relaxing for the body, so it does not fall into fear as easily. This is very important, that the fear aspect is toned down significantly. They are saying significantly. And they are doing their best to catch a lot of demonic energies that would be still causing fear.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a reminder for humanity to not give these beings anything to feed off of them, to starve these beings. If you want to help this process along, if you want to help everything along, it would be best to not fall into fear, to go into the self, to remove these fears, these fearful aspects, and to breathe more deeply, which is going to discourage fear. They are wondering as well if it would be useful for people to do things like Tai Chi to bring more awareness into the body and to leave the fear behind from the body.
Mm-hmm.
Qigong or Tai Chi or these type of practices, to let go of the various fears in the body. And to breathe deeply into the body and then to release the fear and to breathe out, they are saying. Take these fears and transmute them into light with each breath that you take. And imagine these going into all of the different parts of the body.
Very important. Is there anything else that they want us to know at this time?
The toroidal fields of some beings are coming online. In particular, the more advanced star seeds, their toroidal fields are becoming more and more developed to be able to distribute the energy to humanity in the way that it needs to be dealt with. So they may feel very different in the body. The toroidal field of the heart. And there are some beings that have toroidal fields in the stomach as well, where the stomach is. So the Elohim have multiple toroidal fields, and I have one in the heart, a very, very big one that comes from my heart, and then I have one that is in the stomach area, and then I have one around about where my tailbone area is. And they are providing activations for all beings going forward that will be using their toroidal fields more and more. And they are just releasing for me as well some issues with the lowest toroidal field in my body towards the tailbone. That's better. So these sessions help a lot because I can voice my concerns, and that gives them direct permission to assist humanity and myself. This is like a type of magic.
What do you think about the new thing that your lower self is learning?
The new thing.
The new course that she is learning.
Quantum Connect. The council are just discussing. This will be very good, they say. Of course, people will have to do the homework though, afterwards. If they want the activation and, well, the connectedness to occur with their higher selves, but this will be the gateway for some people, they are saying, to connect with their higher selves. Especially the ones that are very busy in the head, one of them says. Yes, I believe that was Hercules that said that. So especially the ones that are very busy in the head, this one will help them. The ones that cannot connect very much with their higher aspects of self, by the traditional BQH means, the council is saying that this would be quite beneficial for them to do so. And of course, they will have to continue with the work. They cannot expect to just go to a session and all of their problems to be cured. They're saying it doesn't work like that. This is a continual process.
I think that sometimes that's a misconception, that you do a modality and then you want to be cured. Take all everything away.
This is like a programming that's, like a pill cures it all type of programming. Apollo just shakes his head. This is, they're all saying, oh, the programming, yes, the programming. Don't, programming is the most annoying thing
Mhm.
because it is the thing that is trapping humanity the most.
Mhm.
It's quite frustrating with this. This is why this process is taking so long. It's because of the programming. They have to be deprogrammed.
And is that something that each individual will have to do themselves to deprogram?
Yes. Well, I am giving some activations out there for anyone listening to this. And the
Mhm.
council is agreeing that we will begin to assist to dissolve the programming if one wants us to help. If one wants the Elohim, the Council of Seven, to help dissolve the programming, then they will help you. However, you need to ask. And I am asking in this session to bring in an activation for anyone to completely dissolve their programming, to speed this up just a little bit, because we can all agree that we are frustrated by the programming and we want to leave it behind. We are in a consensus about this on the council, that this is very much like they are saying, you've moved past this, you don't need this anymore, actually.
Mhm.
Like you have, if humanity wanted to, like, well, certain aspects anyway, the ones that are listening to these sorts of things,
Mhm.
they are saying that you actually do not need to go forth with the programming anymore. You can continue on your own accord. The programming only exists if you give power to it, if you pay attention to it. It actually has no power over you, they are saying.
Mhm.
You need to realize that this actually, it does not have any power over anyone. It's just lies, 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 lies.
Absolutely. The Kundalini that gets activated, what does that refer to?
This refers to the, I have already had my awakening in this body, but this is referring to this rising energy that is from the root creation point and
Mhm.
going up, up, up into the spine. So this was once very much developed in humanity. And this can be activated using the tantric principles as well. The Kundalini energy is like a sexual energy, but it is also a creative energy. So you can use this for both purposes, for creative purposes or for sexual purposes. And it would be, the council is saying that it would actually be very fun for humanity to try this out if they wanted to. Some
Mhm.
people, if they wanted to make love in this way, then it would be very beneficial actually at this stage for the more evolved persons who are listening at the moment, that they could try this out and see how it goes. This would be very beneficial and it would help with many, many other things, like the general health of their body actually.
Mhm.
It has a very rejuvenating sort of quality to it when you allow this energy to come up and to be looped around into the body again. There is a way that you do this to come in and to twist the energy and to loop it around. And many beings know how to, evolved beings know how to do this already. There are, of course, some people that will need help with their creation centers because these are blocked. And
Mm.
you can just clear these out. So we are just giving an activation as well.
Mhm.
Eros, especially if you come to him and ask him about this, then that can be of help. However, he recognizes, well, they all recognize that sometimes people cannot hear the messages because they are not telepathic. So focus on learning these first, and then we can continue. But of course, before all of this, there will need to be a blank slate to help get rid of the programming, and this is what they are all agreeing on.
Mhm.
And the programming, removal of the programming will help with everything really, especially the Kundalini. The programming and the fear is really the issue here. Humanity needs to be let off the tethers to do with their hearts and to begin to use their hearts, use their love, to not be afraid to love. And let off the tethers, let the tethers off your hearts. Unchain your hearts and let this free.
Would you say that a lot of people are blocked in this area?
Yes, especially this heart area,
Mhm.
which is why I have given activations for the heart. And the Christ consciousness is to do with this too, with
Mhm.
this area. Especially this activation of this.
Mhm.
But they are saying that sometimes through grief, allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to feel the grief and to not break down in a sense, but allow the grief to come into your heart so you can open up your heart. And there will be many moments for this. They are agreeing that there will be many opportunities for this to happen in people's lives with what is going to occur in the future.
Mhm.
The grief, opening up the heart so that the heart can see every time you have a crying moment or a moment where you are feeling that intense love or sadness or anything, you are transmuting that emotion. And you truly feel that emotion. You feel it with your heart. That's why it's important to have a big cry.
Mhm. Yeah, at the start of the session, we Lumina had, or like Elizabeth had, a emotional cry over this person that they lost. Is that something that they've been carrying since that lifetime in the cells?
Yes. Yes. Well, it was like a memory that has been not in the cells of the body, but in the aspect of myself that I use for incarnating and star seeding.
Mhm.
That was when it integrated itself into a physical body once again.
Mhm.
It remembers the last time that it was in a physical body. And in this case, that was it. So the last time that she was in a physical body was actually a Pleiadian. And so that is why that occurred. So once that integrated, the memories began to come it's just the way that the physical body integrates with the soul in this aspect.
Mhm.
And then the physical body and the soul the physical body begins to identify possible threats. So the subconscious is created,
Mhm.
and some of these threats go into the subconscious. So in particular, to do with oceans and drowning and whatnot, she has always been and has had dreams about being swept out into ocean and drowning. When she was a child, she had these sorts of dreams. So in particular this one, but also this aspect of myself felt sorry for. Well, it's my whole beingness actually. I love this being very much that I had as a Pleiadian mate. So I will be meeting him again.
In this
And
lifetime?
this is out of my own choice.
Mhm.
He needs to see me again. It's very sad for him. So I'm coming to help him with this. Because after he lost me, he was very sad. Very, very sad. So of course he said, please, can we meet again? And I said, yes, we can meet again. I made that promise to him that we can meet again when
Mhm.
he was very upset and he was talking to me in his room, and he said, in another life, can we please meet again? And I said, okay, yes, we will. I will allow that chance to meet again. And so I did make a promise to this being, and it's not the purpose of this lifetime that I'm in right now, it's just to meet him, but it just so happens that our lives are intertwined together.
Mhm. Does Elizabeth know him already, or?
No, he will come into her life. And this will be very helpful for her to process some of this so he can come
Mhm.
sooner. And it will be helpful for him to hear this as well. This session. Very helpful for him. Very healing for him
Mhm.
and for me.
Is he in the same path that he will be able to listen to this?
Yes, yes, yes. She will show it to him. She will show it to him. He will not be one of those silly guys that tells her, this is just all in your imagination. There is no such thing as consciousness. I am so deaf and blind. I am like a worm. Sorry, the council is laughing.
Oh, that's good.
No, he will be far more awake and open to all of this. He will know that he will feel like he is a starseed because he will have those Pleiadian memories.
Mhm.
And he will be open to all of this. He has come specifically as a starseed as well, to help to raise the vibration of the earth. So he is part of this. And he will not be telling her that she needs to do this or that. No, he will listen, which is good. He will listen to what she has to say instead of blowing her off in her, you know how some ones are like, you need to take the jab. You need to do this. I am not going to listen to you about what you like to talk about because it is crazy stuff. Blah, blah, blah. This type of thing, this type of heavy programming. No, he won't annoy her in this way. If he did, then she would dump him before he would even be. It would be pointless, actually. She would get tired of him very, very quickly. But no, it will be good.
That's good. Thank you for that. Is that going to be like a soul recognition?
Yes, he will be very happy to see her again.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very happy. And in her face, it reminds, because her soul aspect, the body takes on the aspects of the soul. And my particular aspect is like, I guess like a youthful chubby cheeks on the face with dimples and
Mm-hmm.
like a certain sort of face shape that me that I have and then the Pleiadian woman has, like like a heart shaped sort of face,
Mm-hmm.
this type of thing. He will recognize, his subconscious will recognize who it is immediately. And he will be very attracted to her. He likes her type, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
He likes the goth girls and she dresses in this style. he has a fancy for this type of thing. So I have informed her to pick out a certain outfit that he would like. This will really excite him when she meets. This
This,
will make him very, very compliant.
so is this in the near this year that she'll meet him, or?
Yes, 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 of course, of course.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, yes. It will be very good.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Is there anything else that you want us to know at this point?
Um, Not really. The council are providing activations for everyone. And if you ask for it, they will provide more for you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a question. I've been working with another practitioner to bring Spanish. So she's written a few books from sessions, and I've sort of like translated it into Spanish. Is there anything that I need? Well, like it's like I'm working on getting that information out there. From channeled messages and the things that the Actuarians have provided for the general population. Is there something else that I need to be doing in regards to that?
No, no, no. This is fine. This is really, really good because the more people can see this kind of information, the better.
Mm-hmm.
This is wonderful that different people will get the opportunity to see these sorts of things. But we would actually, the council would advise that in order for people to see this, both you and this other practitioner need to promote yourselves more on social media, even if it is difficult. This would be very, very useful for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have if you want to ask, you can have more visibility on social media, and we will give this. We will help with this, with
Yes.
more visibility for these messages to be given to people, but need to do the work in concerns to promoting this material,
Mm-hmm.
going around and making sure that people see it, putting yourself out there. And this is very important.
Like as in a physical form, like in a, or it's just providing clippings of the book for people to see and be activated by it.
Yes, to put the information out there, and to you can release the programming to do with this, to put yourself out there and to put this information out on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and to promote more and more of this. We are just giving some activation so that to help you with this programming.
Beautiful, thank you for that. And I'm gonna I trust that the Spanish speaking community can see it and be activated by it and by the books that, what can you tell us about the books and the information that they provide?
It's very helpful to do with the content of love.
Mm-hmm.
People will need to hear this to be activated by, will have their minds expanded in the ways of love, the
Mm-hmm.
ways of service to others, and the example that the Arcturians provide in service to others and into love. And they will become inspired by this type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, thank you for that. Is there anything else that you want us to know at this time, or are we complete for today?
We are complete for today.